High school never taught us to take good, effective notes, which is kind of crazy because they're essential in helping us receive and retain information. So in this video, I'm going to be covering how I took effective notes for all the different subjects that I took in high school. I didn't invent these note-taking frameworks. It actually comes from a book called How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. He's the author behind the famous book Deep Work and many others. He was an exceptional Ivy League student and even interviewed other Ivy League students to see what they did to find success in their note-taking. So with that being said, let's lay out the two types of classes that you're probably taking in high school. The first type of classes are non-technical classes like history and English. And then on the other side, we got technical classes like math, science, and econ, which we can all agree is more fun than, reading walls of dry text like English and history. Starting with non-technical classes, the boring ones, we'll be using the note-taking method by Cal Newport called QEC, which is question, evidence, and conclusion. Now, the way most teachers present information, take history for example, they'll present a question, give evidence to answer that question, and finally reach the conclusion. This is good because they formatted exactly how we want them to, but unfortunately they don't point precisely what is a question, what is the evidence, and what the conclusion is, which is what your notes are for. Identifying what the question is, what evidence that supports it, and the final conclusion that we can come to. Now, I know that there are many shit teachers that are out there, those that ramble and go off topic, that talk about their personal life and other bullshit that doesn't matter to what we're trying to do. This makes it super hard for us to filter out what is actually important. So let me show you a quick example of how I would use this QEC method for non-technical classes. Say your teacher presents you this short passage and question. Now the question is simple. What does the word breath in line 1 most clearly serve to evoke? And if they were to show you the answer, aka the conclusion, you might think that you won't need to find the evidence because we already have the answer. Wrong. You must still find the evidence to see how the teacher went from the question to the conclusion. There isn't a way to automatically just jump from question to conclusion. There are logical steps in how they did it, which is what the evidence serves to be. So let's list them out. Evidence. Since there's no period, question mark, or exclamation point that ends that line, the first line, it means that the next line is a continuation, an extension of what the first line is talking about, giving us more context. And so if we keep going down to the second line and third line, from some far forest which I once have known, comma, see, since there's a comma, we know that this part of the passage is still continuing, talking about the same object of interest. The perfume of this flower of verse is blown. So perfume is a key word here. It's something that gives a scent of smell. And we can connect this to the conclusion because perfume equals a faint scent lingering in the air. We can also do the process of elimination, but obviously you already know how to do that, and you can see why this mostly serves to evoke a faint scent lingering in the air. So the evidence and conclusion might not always be obvious. So you have to do everything that you can to figure it out. Be the one weirdo, the stupid kid in class that asks questions. Because if you're able to actually learn by asking important questions rather than sit back and pretend to know everything, who's the stupid kid now? If you really don't have the guts to ask questions during class, make the effort to go after class or even after school to ask any of the questions that you might have. The objective of this method is to do as many QECs during or immediately after class, so you can do everything while the information is fresh inside your head. You don't want a messy ass notebook because that'll be a nightmare to go over when you're reviewing for your exam. I know how you feel when you're looking over your notes to try to study for your exam. It just looks like a wall of text. So that's why you want to complete these QECs so you can have a much easier time when you review. Now on to, in my opinion, the more fun classes, the technical classes. Now if you're a junior in the US and you're interested in consulting, email me at shinwoo@inspirateconsulting.com. You can work with me personally and my team of Ivy League essay editors and much more. From the day you start the summer of junior year until you decide which college to commit to, we'll be here every single step of the way. Currently there are only 5 spots open, so act quick. The email is in the description. Now the note-taking framework that I use for technical classes like calculus, physics, and econ is called the PSA framework: problem, steps, and answer. This is very similar to what we did with the non-technical classes, but with a very big emphasis on the steps, because there are exact steps on how we get from here to here. During, say, math class, 99% of the time your teacher provides both the question and the answer as you go through that class, and you need to make sure to write these down somewhere, and as in somewhere I mean your fucking notes. Now that's pretty easy, you just copy down whatever they're writing, simple enough. But unfortunately that isn't all. What you should be doing next is writing down every single step along with annotations. Again, let me show you a quick example. Now, as you can see, I'm writing out each step it takes for me to go from the problem to the solution. But not only that, I'm also annotating them in full English words where I can understand what is going on even if I were to go over these notes a month or two later. That's the mindset that you have to have. Write these annotations for your future self 1 or 2 months down the line. You'll probably forget most of this stuff, so it's crucial to have good annotation. These should include what steps are being used, when they're being used, and why they're being used. Now, you might not be able to understand each step and write detailed annotations on it right away. So when you're stuck on an explanation of a step, please ask your teacher for help. If you lose the chance, don't have the balls to ask, or honestly just get completely ignored, because that happens a lot since nobody dares to ask the teacher a question. Make sure to write a question mark between each step that you're actually confused about, so you could, remind yourself to ask that question down the line, or watch a YouTube video on your own time to figure it out. So there you have it, the way I wrote effective notes for literally every single subject that I took in high school. If you're interested in consulting, like I said, you could email me at shinwoo@inspirateconsulting.com, and you can join the Inspirate community if you like with a link in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.